I don't know, I'm too busy looking at his gorgeous face to remember what he's actually called. Hi and welcome to my channel. My name is Sarah and I love to talk about books. And it's time for me to have a bit of shelf indulgence again, where I talk to you about what I've been reading, what I'm reading next, what I've been watching, listening to, seeing, doing, whatever. It's just a chance for me to have a bit of a chat with you all. So first of all, I apologise for all the shadows and everything behind me. I think I'll just need to admit defeat. I cannot do lighting. I've read up on it about bouncing light off walls and stuff. It's either because I've got cheap lights or I'm just an idiot, but I can't get it right. I don't have time to faff around with it. So how's my week been? Well, I don't know how much I want to say on here. But I know that I have mentioned that I am going through a divorce and that my husband had cheated on me, but I don't really talk about it a lot. But this week I had a bit of an emancipation moment, I suppose. I felt something had released me this week. So although we are still technically married, my husband and his new girlfriend decided to declare for the whole world to see on Facebook that they are a couple, which, although I despise him and literally everything about him has got to the point where it repulses me, it was still hurtful. Particularly when I hadn't seen it myself, but people have been talking about it and brought it to my attention, and I realised that everyone knew, and I thought, enough's enough. I put up with enough of this during my happy marriage. I'm not going to put up with it anymore. So I don't talk about personal issues that much on my Facebook, but my town's quite a small town. People know us. We still have friends in common, although all the good ones are my friends. And I just made a post because I'd spent the weekend quite depressed, and it had gone from being just upset about that situation to I have been internalizing the shame and humiliation that comes with being someone who's been cheated on, because society looks at it in a certain way. It's never really considered as serious as the individual who is the victim of it will feel it. Often, it's just a plot point in a story, or it's seen as a bit of gossip or whatever. And you see, like, obviously Bill and Melinda Gates are the current ones in the media at the moment. It's a bit titillating for other people, but there is also that thing that when someone has been cheated on, it's very much thought of, well, there must be a reason. And the reason is never the real reason, that the person who is cheated is a narcissist or is selfish or any of that sort of stuff. It usually comes back to the person who has been the victim. They weren't good enough. They must have been terrible in bed. They must have been a nightmare to live with. All of these sorts of things. And I've been very lucky in that I've discovered an amazing support group of men and women who have been in a similar situation to mine. It's amazing how similar the stories are. It's almost like people who cheat on marriages in particular are all playing from the same playbook. It's a bit eerie, actually. But infidelity ruins lives. It is a horrible way to end a marriage and destroy a family, and it has repercussions for the person who has been cheated on that a lot of people don't consider. My depression in the past few years has been the worst it's ever been in my life, even when compared to like when I had postnatal depression on top of your common or garden depression. And it's a dark hole to dig yourself out of. It's horrible, and it's had impact on so many aspects of my life. Not even like, if you just take away the fact that I've had to battle with the threat of losing the family home, or finding out that as part of the cheating I had been led to make joint financial decisions in my name, which will be a stain on me until I alone clear them, because the legal system just doesn't help you. And I, for one, I can't imagine cheating on someone even if I didn't have you know, kids with them or commitments with them or apparently love. But it's just a horrible thing to do to someone. And you think a lot of the times people have to deal with the cheating, but then all the other stuff that comes up with like a horrible breakdown of a marriage. And often the person who was cheating has always got the upper hand. You've been left on the back foot because they knew it was coming. They knew what they were doing. They were the ones that made all the choices. You didn't have a say in the fact that now everything you've known about your history, everything you've known about your current life is completely destroyed, and what you'd hoped for and planned for the future has been completely obliterated. It is a huge trauma, and I would actually go as far to say it's abuse. You know, if you look at even just on its own the sexual aspect, you are exposing your partner to STDs and things like that, and they have no idea of the risk they're taking when they sleep with their husband or wife, because they don't know what you've been doing behind their back. And then you look at the emotional aspect of the betrayal, the trust. Like, for me, I honestly can't see me being with someone again, at least for a very, very long time. And B, well, I'm probably quite closely linked to it because I just don't know how to trust people anymore. So this is a really long-winded way to say is that I put that all in a post on Facebook just to address the fact that for some people they might not have known that me and were getting divorced, and then to see he's in a relationship with someone else, that's weird. And then I also know what people like. They will be talking, and I know that there are certain people in my life that will have heard a story from his point of view, which I can guarantee will conveniently leave out huge details like the fact he was a serial cheater. And he will probably try and blame me for the crappy situation that his life is in now. But I feel I had to say to people, do you know, he decided to put himself in that crappy situation because he took that risk. Okay, he might never have wanted me to find out what he was really like, but it must have crossed his tiny little mind at some point that there would be repercussions. And the fact that he's feeling those repercussions now, not my fucking problem. So that felt so good. The comments and the messages I got back after putting that out there, like I was terrified putting it out there because, like I said, I'm not that sort of person. But also there was some heavy stuff in there, and I didn't know how people would react. And oh my God, I have the best people in my life. I am really insanely lucky. And even those people that I don't know particularly well had also been incredibly supportive. So it was just fantastic. It's done my mental health the world of good to put my story out there and stand up for myself, and also take that moment to realize that, okay, these have been the worst years of my life, and they've shown me sides of not even just my ex, but other people that actually disgust me. But they've shown sides of me too. And I've realized how fucking strong I am. There have been times where I wanted to give in. There have been times where I didn't want to be here anymore. It has been that bad. But I'm here. I'm coping, I'm surviving, and I know that my future is just going to get better and better and better without him, without all this baggage while I'm starting to release it. And also, I really enjoyed being alone. Like, I really like my own company. It's allowed me to do things like read more books, start this channel, do my daft little weight loss TikTok, and see my friends more often. And that is a huge part of my life, which didn't get a lot of time. I think when you're married, people do deprioritize spending time with friends. It's just part of the natural thing of it. And not having that other side of my life just means I am so much freer, and it's amazing. So I know that's got nothing to do with books, but it kind of has. It's why I'm here. But I just thought, as a wee update of how my week has been, that's a pretty damn big thing. So I wanted to share it all with you guys because, you know, I know some amazing people through this channel, and even I know I'm not the most communicative of people, particularly when I'm depressed, but you are all so supportive and you support my channel, and I will make a proper announcement on my Saturday video, but I have got to the 200. And that's all because of you guys. So thank you very much. Anyway, let's actually talk about books. So what did I finish? So last week I told you I was reading Skint by Carraway, and I finished that at the weekend. I don't know if my opinion has particularly changed now that I finished it. I said last week that I did fall down a rabbit hole about her, but even before that I had been wondering how much artistic license she had taken with some of the stories in this book. So I should probably say what it's about. This is a memoir of living on the poverty line as a single mother in, well, specifically London, but generally the UK. Carraway found herself pregnant at the age of 29. She had been kicked out of her house at 16 and hadn't really had a stable living situation ever since, and she found herself in women's shelters and lots of temporary accommodation. And just what I was quite surprised about is how unstable the housing situation can be for those who rent but who can't get council housing. And it goes into a lot of those aspects. So it looks at poverty, but it also looks at single motherhood quite a lot, and how single mothers are viewed, how difficult it is to exist as a single mother, to keep work as a single mother, to make money, look after your child. It's made me realize how incredibly privileged I am, because I am a single mother to 3 boys. Before I met my husband, I was a single mother to 1 boy, but I have incredibly supportive parents. I've been lucky enough to go to university, finish my education. I've always had pretty good jobs. It's a world away from the life that Cash is living. So that was really interesting to read about, and also very angering, because a lot of these situations are created by government policy, and just the way that government itself views poor people or single mothers or whatever. But then I'd said last week I'd fallen down a bit of a rabbit hole about her and found out that she does have a bit of a history of people identifying things in her stories that don't match up with maybe things she's previously said, and also that she has taken other people's stories and told them as her own. So I'm a little bit conflicted. I know memoirs, they are not straight facts. You are relying on someone's memory, someone's interpretation of events, but there were certain parts of this that just, I don't know, they felt fictitious. I'm conflicted about whether I care. Obviously you shouldn't be telling other people's stories and passing them off as yours, but if she's amalgamating experiences she's had or things she's seen, and it's still raising that awareness of a very important issue. I do think it's always best to be truthful in these situations, because if you're caught in a lie, the opposition will just cling on to that and your actual message will never be heard. But she's a very good writer. She's funny. She is open to the point of uncomfortableness, but I'm fine with that. I don't mind that. As you can tell by the opening to my video. But yeah, I enjoyed it enough. I don't want to put too much emphasis on it in case the things that I've heard about her are true. So yeah. And I am still currently reading, so I'm a little bit behind this week, the book that I did say I was going to get on to next, which is Mohsin Hamid's The Reluctant Fundamentalist. I'm about halfway through this. This is fabulous. I'm really, really enjoying this. It says on the front it was shortlisted for the Man Booker in 2007. I can see why. I don't know where it's going, but so far it's slightly different to where I had thought I would be at this point in the book, I suppose. I have an inkling about something, but I'll see if it plays out. So basically, this is all told in one voice, in one encounter. So there is a man in Lahore who is speaking to an American stranger that he has met in a cafe, and he is telling him all about himself and how he had managed to get to Princeton and was a really great student. He landed this really well-paid financial job. His life was looking great. He'd met this girl that he was infatuated with, and you know, he looked like he was living the American dream. Then 9/11 happened, and I've only just got to beyond 9/11, so I don't know how much of an impact that's going to have on him, but I understand that it does have a big impact. But also his relationship with this girl is tainted by her own trauma, and that doesn't seem to be going as particularly well. So that's where I've got to in this book. I think the voice in it is really fantastic. I'm totally compelled to keep turning the pages, which is why I'm slightly sleepy looking today, although new concealer doing a good job. Because I was up way past my bedtime reading last night until I told myself that I definitely had to turn the light off. I can see me doing that again tonight, so maybe I'll finish it today, I don't know. But yeah, this is really good. And then next I will be moving on to Snow in May by Ksenia Melnik. This is a Shelterbox book club book. I'm way behind in the conversation. I won't get to join in that. I've kind of given up on book clubs at the moment because I'm just so behind in what I want to be reading. So I think the next couple of Shelterbox books, unless they're ones that I had already really wanted to read, I'll probably just be adding them to my bookshelf rather than be trying to get to them. But this is, I understand, a series of, I think, short stories. And what links them all, because I think they're told across the different characters, different times, but they're all linked by the fact that they are set in, or the people come from or have lived in or whatever, this town called Magadan, which is in, my geography is not great, I can't remember. So it must be like the really far east of Russia. It's where Stalin had his work camps, labor camps, and it's quite isolated, which I'm really interested to read about. Russia is somewhere that fascinates me, terrifies me, but fascinates me at the same time. And I really like to read about cultures that I haven't experienced and that are different from my own. And I think the Russian culture is one that I've yet to fully understand. I've read a few books set in Russia, I've seen some films set in Russia, but it's a really, I mean, it's so big. It's such a complex country, and it's got obviously such a, well, complex history as well. So I know one book isn't gonna make a huge impact, but I'm always interested in things like that. And I think the fact that it's short stories and they are linked, I do like a linked short story, so I'm looking forward to this one. So on to what I've been watching. Not much change, still watching the Great British Sewing Bee, still carrying on with Line of Duty. We are in season 4 now, I think. I'm going to carry on with that tonight. And then I have also been binge watching while I'm working Drag Race Down Under, so I'm all caught up with that. And Drag Race Canada, or Canada's Drag Race, which I have got the last episode of the first season to finish, and then I think there's another season after that. Really enjoying both of those, just the same way that I've enjoyed all the Drag Race what are they called, like franchises. So that's been good. I really enjoy the presenters, because Canada's one, for some reason RuPaul isn't presenting it, so it's a core of 3 presenters. Is it 3? Yes. So it's Brooklyn Heights, who was in America's Drag Race, who I really enjoyed during her season. And then it's Stacey McKenzie, who I loved from America's Next Top Model, and Jeffrey Bower something. I don't know, I'm too busy looking at his gorgeous face to remember what he's actually called. So they're really good together, and they're doing a really good job, and then they have like a special guest judge to join them each week, and it's a really fun dynamic. Actually, I'm not saying, you know, that I don't want RuPaul and Michelle Visage, but it's nice to see different ways of doing it, so that's really, really fun. I also watched what was on Netflix. I can't remember if it was a Netflix production, but the film adaptation of AJ Finn's The Woman in the Window. Now, I was going to read this, it was either last year or the year before, and then I read all the controversy around AJ Finn, who that isn't his real name, and it turns out this guy is a big fat liar and has managed to get quite high up in publishing despite being a bit of a twat. I will dig out the article that I read that told me all about that, and I will link it in the description below. But I decided not to read the book because we need less straight white men in publishing, and a straight white man in publishing who has lied his way to get there is definitely one we could do without. But it was on Netflix and I just kind of ended up watching it because it has Amy Adams in it, who plays the main character, and it was all right actually. I didn't guess what the twist at the end was going to be, and yeah, it was a good way to spend a couple of hours. What I did really like was Crip Camp on Netflix as well, which is a really well done documentary about this group of, well, they were kids in the 60s who were lucky enough to go to, I'm assuming, the only summer camp in America which catered for people with disabilities or learning difficulties, and through that experience over those, I think it was more than one summer, yeah, through that experience and through their friendships and just how it sparked in a lot of them this feeling of the fact that they didn't have equal rights. A lot of them went on to be protesters, to make big changes. I'm not up with my American legislation, but I know their actions were pivotal in legally claiming human rights for those with disabilities. It's a really moving watch, it's really interesting, and I would definitely recommend it. And then last night, through an ad on Facebook, I found out that the Hey on Why Book Festival is going to be virtual again this year. So I've signed up to a ton of events through that, and I thought it would be good to give that a bit of a shout out. I think it doesn't matter what country you're in, I think you can register for the events and they are all free, and there are some big names. So who have I signed up to see? We've got Elaf Shafak, Ian Braithwaite, Caitlin Moran, Tom Allen, Candice Braithwaite, John McGregor, Laura Dockrell, David Mitchell, Louise Welsh. She's coming up a lot on my channel at the moment. Britt Bennett, Sheila Hetty, Isabel Allende, Pandora Sykes, Ali Smith. There's loads of really big names being involved in this festival, and I obviously haven't been to the festival, but I have been to Hey on Why because if you remember, I shared a vlog about going around it because it is Wales's book town. So it has, I can't remember off the top of my head how many, but it has an insane amount of bookshops. And when we were in Wales last year, I was lucky enough to be able to stop in there on our way home from our holiday, and I shared with you just how amazing some of those bookshops are. So I will link that video in the description below, as well as the link to the Hey Festival website, so you can check out and see if there are any events that you would like to attend as well. And that's all I think I've got for you guys. So I hope whatever you're doing today and for the rest of the week that you are having a good time. I hope you're reading something that is gripping you in whatever way you like to be gripped. And until Saturday, bye.